Welcome to the ShoreCuts Podcast, where we drop into every cut on brand new releases by world-class recording artists. I'm Sandy Shore for smoothjazz.com Global. With me here is one of my personal favorites, soul jazz flutist Althea Rene. Althea has an exciting new collection of songs. It's called PASTEL LEATHER, her 10th album to date. A festival favorite, this artist is a prolific composer, a charting recording artist, and enjoys great streaming success around the world. This new project features some powerful special guests, including Lynn Roundtree, Warren Wolf, Jeff Lorber, Demetrius Crayon Neighbors, and Marquel Jordan is on here too. Pastel Leather is a concept album, and we will definitely discuss this. It's an overall theme project, and Althea will get into that. And we'll talk about some other topics, too, that involve the creative process of making this recording. Althea, welcome to the ShoreCuts Podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful intro.
My pleasure. That was well-deserved. You have a very colorful career to date. And I'm always excited when I see you've got a new project out.
Yes, I felt like it was time. It was time.
Yeah, and so much has happened in between, these two albums. The last time we spoke was with the release of Flossom, and we had no idea where we were heading right after that, did we?
Yeah, for sure. Wow, it's like 3 years that, of things... all kinds of things happening that brought me to the point of doing this project. But I'm in such a good place, like spiritually, mentally, physically. And, I'll tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. And we can see, too, because if, following you on social media, if those photos are any example of where you're at physically, and you can even see emotionally where you are, you're appearing so strong and confident and glowing in your photos. You look great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, I've recently lost 26 pounds. And it's just funny how when you start on this journey and you don't even think you have that much to lose, But with every, say, 10 pounds, it was just such focus. And it became more than just the weight loss, because it was like a healing of just accomplishing something that I had tried over and over. So, yeah, it was really special.
That is absolutely fantastic. I mean, as someone who has been on the journey for a long time, I've learned the hard way that, weight is something that is totally connected to, your innermost sacred emotions and feelings and thoughts and experiences. And not all of us deal with that. There are other areas of our physicality that get pressured when we have stress or we have, hidden emotions or whatever. But some of us carry it, and we carry it to different degrees. And as you start shedding, it's almost like you said, it's a healing.
Yes. And just, it was a promise. There was something that my mom said to me, and before she passed away a year ago, I would be on these various diets, and then she looked at me one day and she says, you're always dieting. She said, but the thing is, you always look the same. And I thought, wow, that was like something that I'm going to change. I said, I'm going to change this. And so I wanted to get to a certain weight. And, my mom she was there with me the whole time. And I know she would be very proud.
I was really sorry to hear about your mom passing. I know she was so important to you, and I know that was hard.
Absolutely.
As mine was to me, and I feel like, I continue going through my life with her, in mind and in heart all the time. I'm trying to make the decisions, that I feel would be, make her happy as well,
Right. Right. And we were lucky to have her for 94 years. So
amazing.
Wow. It's kind of, it's almost selfish to want to hold on when she was with, me for so long, because so many other people, lose their parents, way earlier in life. So I feel so blessed.
You were very blessed. And I mean, and it sounds like she was a good compass for you. And sometimes they say things that are just like, like your mom said to you died and you always look the same. And
right. It's
like,
not only a mom can say.
Only a mom can say it, but yet there is so much wisdom in it. And, we sit and process that stuff for a while. And then
Yeah.
the answers come, right?
Right.
You got to learn how to decode mom speak.
Yeah, she was always honest.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, this is great. And I know when you're in good physical shape, then it does help with the, emotional and mental acuity, as well in life. And before we dig into this brand new project with the great title, Pastel Leather, I just want to chat for just a little bit more about your experiences in life and a little bit about your musical journey, which I know had to have begun a bit around your father's influence as one of Motown's funk brothers in the horn section. And then a little bit I want to touch on too about your transition from careers, because I think all of this plays into how you create music and where you go with your music.
Yes. So, as a child, my dad was, my mother loved classical music, so we would listen to classical music, and I was a classical artist early on. But my dad Saturday mornings, he would be playing all kinds of jazz albums, and we had a B3 organ. He actually had a couple of them because he had a trio after Motown. He formed a trio with B3 organ and drums and guitar sometimes. Yeah, but it was just always music in the house. And I tried a few instruments, but my sister played the flute, my older sister, and she never practiced and just wasn't really interested. So when I picked it up, I asked her if I could play it, and she was like, I don't care. So I just ran with it. From that, it was just like love at first sight, But I encountered a lot of things early on that I didn't really recognize as being prejudiced towards, women or girls playing an instrument. I was too young to really understand, but my brother and I were in a band, in the school band. And the teacher, he tells me to just pretend to play and not to play. But my brother, he was very encouraging and working with him. And so when the concert came up, I had learned it. and I said, well, I know it. And he says, that's okay. I just don't play for real. And I was really hurt. That was like my first time actually. And it was so early.
Wow.
That's the thing. Why am I being told not to play?
Wow. And now that is like a hill you had to, climb to get up and over that, to even want to keep playing, Right.
And, and there were other instances of that throughout my life. And I think that, now we're seeing, so many other talented female flutists and artists, instrumentalists, out here. And I can't help but feel like I was part of the path that paved the way for them to have it easier than I had it. In college, I remember when I decided I wanted to play jazz, I started going to jam sessions. And, because my father wanted me to teach, and he didn't want me to follow in his path, and just be a performer. So he would always discourage me. He would tell me I didn't have any soul, and, because I played classically. And I struggled with not getting help in terms of, even though I was at Howard University, I was in the classical department. I wasn't in the jazz band. And I was told that I had to play trumpet or flugelhorn in the jazz band. I couldn't play flute.
Exactly.
So, after picking up the trumpet and hating it, and I just decided that I would just, do it on my own. And so I always feel like this kind of rogue, kind of like a rapper that went out, and I had to learn it for myself, because whenever I would ask for help, it was always met with a sexual innuendo.
Uh-huh.
for me playing the flute, do you look as good as you play? Or can you play? Do you have your flute?
And I mean, so you have had to deal with a number of discriminatory issues, including the instrument itself not lending itself to the genre in their opinion, and
right,
and then being a female in trying to break into jazz. I mean, it's so, isn't it just unbelievable? Like, I think I was way too idealistic as a child when I thought, as we grew up, the world would just become more accepting. I really believed that.
I thought as I got older that it would go away, but
me too.
But it doesn't. I mean, it's like, some of, and I won't name any names, but it's been a person that I idolized my whole life. And that person basically did the same thing, sexualized my interest in wanting to further, my style.
Yeah.
Because you never get too old to learn. That's the thing. You can get to a point where, if you get to a point where you think you've mastered it all, then I think that's the point that you stop growing. There's always stuff to learn, and there are always, hopefully, the masters who can, lend a hand and help. And that's why I'm so, pro women, pro help. I'll share a lot of things about, my equipment, what I use, things like that. My advice on things if asked.
Exactly.
Because I feel like I didn't have that for me.
And I think it's really important that we keep voicing it, not to harp on any kind of negativity, just to call out what's real, what's really happening.
Yeah.
And not dismiss like we have had to do for so many decades, just,
because it's not in your mind, and if you say something, they'll say, I wasn't hitting on you. What's the matter with you?
Exactly. Like, don't be so egotistical,
Right. Right. You think too much of yourself,
Totally.
But no, you know exactly what's going on.
It's such a fun double-edged sword, isn't it? They get you,
yeah, it
they
is.
Get
but you know what? We just have to be more, we have to be better at our business. We have to know exactly what you want, and when you're hiring bands and working with musicians, have your stuff together.
No, that's exactly it. It's like there was such a great interview with Oprah Winfrey at one point where she was talking about excellence, transcending, gender, transcending color, transcending age,
yes,
transcending everything. So that's what we have control of. We can control our minds, and we can control, how much we're willing to invest into our craft, and that is, and only then do we basically transcend all of this, noise, really.
And if you don't experience loss, then you can get into this false sense of, just success, so for me, like being an indie artist is, really like, I love it. I love it because my successes are mine. My losses I learn from, but I retain all of my masters. I retain all of the credit and all the hard work that went into my music, and my art, whether it's writing a book or, whatever it is, I own it.
Yeah, and that's really,
I own it all.
It's really important, and I've said this for probably 20 plus years now. If an artist is willing to do a little bit of the work, I know you have to roll your sleeves up and you have to get down in it. You have to wear your business hat when you're not wearing your artist hat. If you're willing to do it, the successes and the rewards and everything is just so much greater when you are in charge of it.
Correct.
And I love seeing you doing this. It's so inspiring and encouraging, to me as a radio person and a music lover. And I know it's really inspiring to artists. I mean, just, regardless of gender, but especially, the young girls coming up now and watching you go, and watching you take an instrument that you have so much passion for and inserting it into a music motif that you have so much passion for. And not only that, but it works. Not only are you doing it because you're inspired to, and it works and it sounds amazing when we play you on the radio and how much traction you get in a mix of music. And I give you that perspective because that might be something, you don't think about how amazing you stand out in a mix of music because of this, integrity you bring to your craft.
Yeah, well, early on, I was told by the radio stations that I wasn't smooth jazz. They're like, well, flute really isn't typically a smooth jazz instrument. And I'm just like, do you like the music? Do you like the song? Not whether the instrument. I never saw whether if the song fits, then the instrument fits. Then, so that's when I became, I started using soul jazz.
Yeah.
Flutist because I was rejected by smooth jazz. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm soul jazz anyway. And so I went with that for a while. And then all of a sudden I started seeing other artists using soul jazz. And I'm like, wait a minute, soul jazz, it comes from a place. For me, it comes from growing up listening to funk music in Detroit, between Ohio, where all the funk, the early funk originated, and Detroit, and so you don't just get to call yourself soul jazz just because it sounds cool. It means something, or it should mean something, and so then I had to tag on original soul jazz flutist, and that's why you see that now, because
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, it cracks me up because smooth jazz is really just an umbrella term. It doesn't, there's no such thing as smooth jazz. That is just a term it's a mix of music that incorporates soul, jazz, R&B, hip hop, it's set Latin, and when you'll relate to this because, I know about your previous career. There are people officially that have deputized themselves as the smooth jazz police, Althea. So they're holding the gate. And I love that you just crashed through it. They're just names. These are just names. And what we do over here, that is, we own the name smoothjazz.com, but our sound is super inclusive.
Oh, yeah.
And it's more about a lifestyle, I think. And, we got to move. Yeah. We got to move, and we need music that makes us move. And that's what you do.
And thank you for explaining that, because I think it has evolved since when it first came out. You had a few people that they decided what it was going to be, and it was going to be guitars and saxes.
Oh, yeah.
So they were the ones that's telling everybody else, hey, you don't play guitar or sax, you're not smooth jazz. So now, of course it's evolved because, we have violin, we have harp, we have all kinds of instruments, doing music. So I just feel like we should always, it should all be inclusive of everything. And just because I'm soul jazz doesn't mean that I can't appeal to smooth jazz. So that's the whole point. I think, for the people that come out to the festivals and support artists, they know.
In everybody's collection, look, when we used to have our CDs or we used to have our vinyl, I still have my vinyl. You will see if you're a contemporary jazz fan, instrumental music fan, you're going to have, you should have everything in there. You will have Tower of Power, and you will have Sade, probably. You'll probably have some Steely Dan.
Right.
And we like all of that. That's why I always chuckle when people are like, that's not smooth jazz. And I'm thinking to myself, no one can define it. You just can't. It's just not, it's a living organism, and it ebbs and it flows like the ocean.
I love it.
It rises and it falls, and, you can't, you can't really define it. And the other thing was smooth jazz is dead. And it's like, it's not going to die.
No,
and when
how
you
could
start
it die?
hearing, when you hear smooth beats that we've been playing for years in like Post Malone music,
Yeah.
now you know it's not going anywhere because the kids are like incorporating these really trick beats into their rap and their youthful songs, right?
And our live shows and festivals are like none other. And there's no way anyone wants to go to a rap concert all day.
Yeah.
Nobody over 40 for sure.
I mean, you're going to leave there so angry that you're going to burn something down,
Right. So yeah.
Your new album, Pastel Leather, I feel like, when we're creating from our, experiences and our makeup, our family, our influences and all that. And this is an interesting concept. I've read, some of the releases on it, and I'd love it for you to explain, the name, where you're coming from on it. I know your background in law enforcement had probably led you down a really interesting road of psychological evaluation, if you will, and plus your own experiences. Can you give us a little bit about Pastel Leather, human behavior, and how this collection of songs came together?
Well, I usually speak from a woman's point of view, being that I am a woman. I don't try to, perceive to understand men in that way, but I always speak from my own experiences. And I think as women, we're always, especially through this last 2 years, but even beyond that, when people ask, hey, how's it going? How you doing? And all they want to hear is, oh, I'm fine. Great. Yeah, everything's going good. And then as you go through tragedies and anxieties and all kinds of things in your life, we're continuously going out, putting on this pastel image of that everything is fine. All the while on the inside, you want to scream. You have to be so tough. You have to be the one that can't cry because you've got too much to do. And you still have to be strong for everyone. And that's the leather. That's the leather. And the pastel side is just the part that, hey, how are you? You look beautiful. Everything's wonderful. Yeah, I'm good, And that's what we do. But that tough interior is tough. If they ever see that side, you don't want to see that side. I'll tell you. You don't want to see that leather side.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting socialization, isn't it, of women in our culture, and maybe not just limited to women, but where we feel we have to say everything's fine,
Yeah, because if you don't, people are like, oh my God, I asked her how she was doing and she started going on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I find that, when you start, I remember it was a comedy thing with Ellen DeGeneres when she said, she's very, very, very busy. She was picking up a cup of coffee on her way to yoga. And she made a comment that, when you see somebody on the street and you ask them how they're doing, if they don't say fine, you look at your watch and you're like, oh God, I didn't really want to know.
Right. Exactly. And people don't. So yeah, that's what pastel leather is all about.
Okay. I get it.
Got that yin and the yang. And, I think on the outside, my melodies, I write all of my melodies, with my project or in my music because, they have to come from my heart. And that's the soft side that people hear. My melodies are always, heartfelt. At least that's what I hope that you get from it. I play from the heart, and they're always somewhat feminine, there's a childlike quality, because I'm really bearing everything, But the backbeat could be funky as hell,
Right.
So that is my music. That's what you hear in all of my music.
Okay, I get it now. And I think it's exciting when people are willing to show us all sides. I feel like there's a vulnerability in it, you know, and at the same time, there's a little bit of like, don't mess with that person.
Right.
That's some serious stuff going down. And I think you do come off like that on stage, which, you know, honestly appeals to everyone. If you think about it, like there's that kind of leathery or tough, we'll call it tough beat that, you know, like when people say that's tight, you know, it's like you've got this killer groove, killer beat. And then the melody is very pure, and you know your melodies are very sweet. So I totally get what you're projecting here, and how it's on the surface it's about music, but if you drill all the way down, it can even be about, you know, our societal expectations, really, of how we portray ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is really cool. And on this new album, we're about to play some samples here and talk a little bit more about the project. And this is just out. It's brand new. And this feature allows people to hear how, you know, the songs came about, the featured artists on it. And I know you have a lot of wonderful musicians here. And Althea, you know a lot of musicians. This must have been a challenge for you to select the few that are on this project. And it also must have been really fun to, you know, give Lynn a call and touch base with Jeff Lorber and all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, where are we starting?
Yeah, let's start. Let's go for the first track, which I know is the title track. If you don't mind, introduce a little bit of that and tell us something about what made you come up with this sound, melody, and who's on it.
Okay, so Pastel Leather, that was probably the first song that we did back in March. And I was working with Demetrius Neighbors. We've been working together and co-producing for, pretty much at least 3 or 4 projects, at least, maybe more. And he sends me music, and I'll say, oh, I like that, I don't like that, you know. He sent me that track, and I thought, oh, man, it's upbeat, it's feel good. You know, it's just got this, and the horns, I had never worked with horns. So, and these are live horns. These aren't like, you know, keyboard horns or anything. So we got, you know, a horn section, and it just came together, so well. It's just a feel good. It's a beautiful opener for the rest of the CD.
So here it is right here. This is Pastel Leather on the ShoreCuts podcast. Check this out.
So you just heard Blue Room from my CD entitled Pastel Leather. And I had the pleasure of working. It's always been a dream of mine to work with Jeff Lorber. He's done so much great work, and I've always been a fan. And so when I had the chance to work with him, it was just magic. So I really, really enjoyed the whole vibe of this song. I didn't even change the name. He named it Blue Room, and I just thought it was great. So I had a great time doing this song. The next song that you're going to hear is entitled Tabula Rasa, which actually means clean slate. And so it definitely had meaning. I have, close family that I just want everything to work out for them. And I wanted, I wrote this for my son, in particular, that he have a clean slate to be able to conquer the world or whatever it is that he wants to do in life. So I hope you enjoy it. And Tabula Rasa features Lynn Roundtree on trumpet. And he's another great friend of mine from Detroit, and we've worked on each other's projects over the years. So you've just heard Show You the Way, and I had the opportunity to write with Justin Young on this project, on this song. And we actually recorded this probably about a year ago. I've always wanted to do an inspirational project, and I worked with Justin on doing that. And then we just decided to put it on this project because it's kind of been my anthem. And the message in it is focus on what's in front of you. During the time of, that we went through with COVID, it was definitely sometimes hour by hour, minute to minute, and I just had to focus on what was in front of me and the blessings that I had in front of me. And so that's what this song is all about. It's, if you believe, and he will show you the way, and you just gotta stay focused. So, yeah. So I love that.
It's a really positive message. And speaking of kind of the downtime and the challenges of COVID, that kept you from running around the world like you normally do. And it also paused your fairly new festival that you've launched, the South Central Jazz Fest in your current hometown of San Antonio.
Yes.
But you're back now, and that's what's exciting. You're back out touring, you're playing, and tell us a little bit about your recent festival. How did that go?
Oh, wow. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. The first annual was last year, and we were very surprised. I was very surprised to walk in there and see that it was packed, in 2021. So that was really great. And this year it was even bigger. I can't even explain, what it feels like to put on your own festival, other than that it comes out of, being rejected sometimes. Like, sometimes where you live as an artist, promoters don't want to book you and pay you your wage. They feel like, hey, you're at home, and you might be already giving them a deal. So rather than be excluded, guess what? Do your own festival. Yes. Do your own shows.
Yes. You're like the phoenix. You're always rising out of those ashes.
Absolutely. You don't let anybody's words bring you down. Now if you're trying to do something that doesn't work, well, then you just have to find another way. But never say, oh, I'm not working here because they won't book me or nobody wants to pay me, well, then do it yourself.
Yeah.
There's no excuses.
No. I love it. And that advice had to come from that 94-year-old mother of yours, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
can hear it. I can hear it. No, and we've seen a little bit about. I have seen good bits and pieces from social media on the South Central Jazz Fest, and it looks like a blast. And so you're going to do it next year. Then you'll do it in 23 as well.
Right. We're doing it next year, and we do it in the Texas fashion. We do it in an original airplane hangar that has been turned into an event center now, and it's beautiful. We get to open the front and back doors. We have vendors. This year it was 85 during the day and about 75 at night. So it's just gorgeous weather,
Yeah.
And so this is the perfect time to do it. I know a lot of people think it's too hot in San Antonio, but you can't do it in July.
I'm gonna try to come join you next year.
Oh, that would be so much fun. I would love that.
I want to spend a little time in San Antonio, and I'd love to see the event. So yeah.
Yeah.
And to find out more about that, people can go to althearene.com.
Correct. And so many people came in the day before or stayed the day after, and they went down to the river walk, and so there were all kinds of things happening, and we hope to be able to offer some things for our VIPs next year.
That sounds great. Well, congratulations on the successful event. I know you had a moment where you were hoping to launch it, I think in 2020, right? And then you just had to kind of hit the pause button for a minute.
Yeah, and we also honored all the refunds. So that was,
wow.
That hurt.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I think it was the best thing to do,
Absolutely. And then people, they really appreciate that because those were extraordinary times, difficult times for many.
Yes.
And to be able to do that, even though it hurts, it's the right thing to do. And look what ended up happening. It all worked out beautifully in the end.
Yeah.
2 really successful back-to-back events, and you're going to do it again next year.
We're going to do it again.
And you know what they say about the third time?
That's the charm.
That's right. So I want to let folks know you're listening to Althea Rene, the original soul jazz flutist, and this is her brand new album that we're talking about. I'm Sandy Shore from smoothjazz.com Global. This is the coolest collection of songs. Came out in 2022. We're absolutely thrilled to be working with Althea on a global level for Pastel Leather, and it's always nice to get into the tracks. That's what we do here on ShoreCuts, is we dig a little deeper to find out where the songs came from, how they came about, where the artist was coming from, who they invited on the track, and why. And we're going to slip in now to a really cool cut on the album, a borrowed track. I'll let Althea introduce track number 5.
All right. So the next track is originally done by Joe Sample. And as I found out digging deeper, it was written by Marcus Miller. I didn't know that. And then there was like this karma. I get a message in my Instagram from Warren Wolf, and he's straight ahead, vibist, keyboardist, phenomenal artist. And in the message, it said, "Hey, I enjoyed your show last night and would love to work with you in the future." And I look at it and I'm thinking, I wasn't anywhere last night. That's odd. And when I looked at the message was 3 years old. That's incredible. Who gets a message 3 years later? I don't know. I can't explain how that happened. But when I looked up Warren Wolf, then I saw, he has the Wolf Pack. He's this vibist that's playing all over the world, and he's huge in the straight ahead, world. And so I thought I said, man, we got to make this happen now because this is like weird. So I come up with the 7 years good luck. And I just thought it would be great to pair flute. I'm always looking for those unique pairings with the flute and vibes. I don't know if it's been done before, but I wanted to do it. So that's how that song came about.
So let's listen to a little bit of it right now. This is 7 Years of Good Luck, made very popular by Joe Sample written by Marcus Miller, right here on ShoreCuts by smoothjazz.com.
So you've just heard Jamocha Almond off the CD Pastel Leather. And Jamocha Almond, I just thought originally I wanted to do a remake of a sexy R&B song. But talking with my co-producer Demetrius, he says, why do a cover? Why don't we just write our own? And so I said, yeah, okay. So we came up with this kind of really sexy track. And then I thought about, man, what's sexy? What's a sexy way to say chocolate? You don't want to just say chocolate. Okay, that's, but Jamocha Almond, that just sounds really like a mouthful, and Jamocha Almond ice cream, made popular by Ben and Jerry's. That's something that I really like. So that's how we came up with that. And the next track, Go-Go Boots. So this one, so I went to Howard University. And so that's where I got introduced to go-go music. And let me tell you, man, you will lose your mind if you let the go-go beat get in your head, and that's exactly what happened. And I did a show this summer in DC and with a band. And at a certain point in our show, the drummer said, "Hey, let's go, let's do some go-go." I said, "Go for it." And he went into the go-go and people lost their minds. We had like 5,000 people dancing on the plaza, the mall, It was just great. So that inspired me to write a go-go song along with Demetrius' neighbors, Crayon Neighbors. And of course, boots. Anybody that knows me knows that I have a boot fetish. So I just love all kinds of boots. So that's the name, Go-Go Boots. And this features Marquel Jordan. I thought he was the perfect saxophonist to be on this because he's got that old school swag, that Chicago. He's not like smooth jazz. He just floats between straight ahead, R&B, smooth jazz. He can do it all. So it was the perfect combination.
That's Go-Go Boots from Althea Renee featuring saxophonist Marquel Jordan. And this is the last track from Althea Renee's brand new album, Pastel Leather. Althea is here with us on ShoreCuts. What a great new project. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm super excited for you, and you did a really nice job on the featured artists, just so appropriately placed where they belong, making the songs, enhancing the songs for sure. I just love it. And Go-Go Boots, what a great way to wrap it up. I don't you think your dad would have loved that one?
I definitely think he would have liked it. And, normally, you think about 10 or 15 songs on a project, but I really wanted to concentrate on, doing just a collection, and that each song had a definite meaning, and there were no mistakes or filler songs or just, we'll just throw this in. They were all very intentional. So I'm very proud of that.
It's a smart move if you think about it in today's, new paradigm for sourcing music. We don't have to go out and buy the album, and then how we all felt on some albums. Oh, we're stuck with the whole thing, It's like,
right.
I just bought it for 2 songs,
Right. It's like skip, hated it.
And we're not being offensive. It's just the way it was back then. Now, you just put the meat in it. There's no fluff here. It's just all good stuff. I love it.
Thank you.
Great job. Plus, you know what? Thinking of it from a fiscal sense, it's a smart move as well. It saves a little extra money for your artwork, design, marketing, whatever you have to do as an independent artist.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, no, this is really great, Althea. It's been such a wonderful opportunity to get a little bit deeper with you here on your music life in general. And I always enjoy that with you, whether we're, backstage somewhere chatting it up or on international radio. I just really enjoy talking with you always. I feel like we're kindred spirits in a way. You and I.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. And, I was looking up the new project and kind of getting myself prepared for this chat today. I was over on Spotify, and I thought you'd be happy to know that when you go searching for, this already, but when you go searching for artists on Spotify, you type in the name. And for some artists, that have common names, they are one of hundreds of them. Like, it's always interesting. If you put Michael in, for example, the first Michael is always going to be Jackson, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, like, if you're just a Michael with a few albums out, you're going to have to put the whole name in.
Okay.
For you, however, you are the first Althea to pop up. You're number 1.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's good to know.
I loved it. Yeah, and you're doing so well with your digital distribution. People are loving it. You're on so many different playlists out there. I find the streaming platforms to be very exciting because to me, it's just an extension of radio.
Yes.
It puts the mix in the hands of the people, the fans, the super fans that are really good at creating playlists. They are now front and center in the game of music distribution, just like DJs,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome. And so for people to find out more about where they can source your music, they can go to althearene.com, right?
Correct.
And your social as well. You do a really good job of maintaining your social profiles.
Oh yeah, and that is not easy, but I feel like being on the side of promoter and artist, we have to learn to work together. When someone hires you to be on their festival or show or whatever, if you don't have a social media, there are a lot of artists that wonder why or how do I get on stuff, and it's because they don't have a social media platform. It's not like you have these other outlets like you used to sell tickets or promote your show. So you absolutely need the artists to do their part to do, their social media, promoting it, a video. If you're not doing shows, then you are not getting to, a bigger fan base as well. So it takes a lot. It's a job. It's another job.
It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. Exactly. And this is what I tell artist clients all the time here is that the greatest thing you can do is focus on building your base. And that means your streaming numbers. It means your social numbers,
Yeah.
That way people can find you. And once they know you and love you and find you, then you can influence them to come see you live. And then the promoters are happy and you're happy and,
right. Because I always cringe when I hear artists who say, oh, I don't do social media. It's just like, okay.
Let us know how that works out for you.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, you did definitely keep up. You're fun to follow. You do a nice mix of what's going on with the music and where you're performing. And every now and then we get to see Rocky, which is really cool.
I got some more videos. I don't put them out on a daily basis, but he's always doing weird stuff every day. So sometimes I get to capture it. So
we should let those who don't know Rocky, we should let them know who Rocky is.
Rocky,
tell us a little bit about Rocky.
Rocky is our 110-pound boxer mastiff mix who is very spoiled. I actually make him food. My husband and I, on the side of his dry food, we actually make him, a diet of rice and vegetables and egg and turmeric and all kinds of things. And his medical bills are more than ours.
Oh my goodness, Rocky. But you know what? He's got the greatest videos. So we'll look forward to those coming up on Instagram soon.
Yeah, for sure. I promise.
He's awesome. He's adorable. I love him.
Thank you.
Well, Althea, thanks again for your time and for all of the great stories, and congratulations on this album. I think you're off to probably a nice long run here with several radio tunes, and I'm already seeing some big excitement on the streaming platforms. And
thank you.
I just hope you keep going and going because, we're big fans of yours here at smoothjazz.com.
Absolutely. They always say with musicians, you don't walk away from your career, you die. So
yeah, they say that about DJs too. So we're in it together.
Well, sounds good.
It sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Exactly. What else are we going to do? There's no place to walk to.
Right. I can't do it. I'm certainly not going back to the sheriff's department. So
yeah, I know. Not these days for sure. Well, we'll catch up with you soon. I'll look forward to seeing you out on the road on tour, and definitely count me in for San Antonio next year.
All right. Sounds great, Sandy. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
You got it. For smoothjazz.com Global, I'm Sandy Shore. This is ShoreCuts.